In writing, there exists a golden rule: show, don't tell. By its basic definition, it means that the story is experienced through the actions of the characters and how they interact with the world around them. It requires no lengthy exposition from the author as one explains what or why something is happening through the story. Show don't tell is one of the most important storytelling devices because it is the difference between a dull and interesting story and something that actually draws in the audience attention. But instead of me just telling you this, I will show you what I mean with two examples. Both have the writers telling a backstory through a lengthy flashback, and both use show don't tell quite well in their stories. The first one I wanted to talk about is Nomad of Nowhere, a web series that aired back in March of 2018 made by Roosterteeth. The first season is currently on YouTube, and I will link the playlist below if you're interested. To those that don't know, it mainly follows the Nomad, a being that can use magic to bring into life inanimate objects, being hunted mainly by Scout and Toth, as well as many other bounty hunters who wanted to capture him for the main villain, El Rey, the King of Nowhere, who wants him for being magic. We actually get El Rey's backstory, as well as a bit of insight about his four governors who control the four corners of Nowhere in episode 6 titled El Rey, where the flashback is. So the episode sees the Nomad fleeing into this fortress that was once owned by El Rey, as evident by the insignia. He just wanders in and will eventually meet this old woman here, who goes off to explain that magic was important to this world at one point. Then we get the flashback for El Rey, which shows him trying to get inside this fortress, fighting through undead skeletons, and he ends up going past traps, the giant plant, as you'll see in a second, and then he makes his way to finding this crown inside this fortress of like dark magic or something, and then he decides to put it on his head. I'm sure that will end perfectly well. El Rey would become king, and as seen here, he shows being a very benevolent ruler. He just gives out boons to people for free, food, heals them with the magic from the crown, whatever, and things seem to be going on swimmingly for decades. Yet eventually the crown's power fails him. It just stops working. So he calls upon a mage to try and see what's going on. But then, as shown right here, the crown eats magic. Now El Rey, learning absolutely nothing from that, puts on the crown again and becomes corrupted by it. He starts bringing in more mages and starts consuming them. And as he continues to consume mages, the vegetation starts dying out. Magic is definitely important to this world, as the old woman stated. Eventually, people do get word of this, and there is an uproar, of course, so El Rey creates his governors. Specifically, this one, Toro, who, well, is a brutal warrior, as you can see from right here. He completely sacks the land and built his own coliseum, literally called the Colosseum, to control the West. Of the three remaining governors, the one in the middle is the only one I can extrapolate much from. I believe he's the governor of the East and is an industrialist, mainly because of those two guns he's got. Those look kind of like factories, smokestack building. Of course, he's got guns. The sheer lack of dialogue means that the audience will engage with the story by having to piece things together as they view it. El Rey is the king, and El Rey is literally Spanish for the king. So, yeah. Because there was any doubt he became the king from just getting that crown. So why is show don't tell important? Because it makes the audience engage with the story. You reward them for paying attention by making them feel more clever than they actually are for putting these things together. They find clues and get the story that way. You will have to lead them on, not just sit down and have a lecture like this is a classroom. Another example of show don't tell is in the flashback from Manny in the film Ice Age. The first one, back in 2002, with the weird creature they insist is a baby. In the film, you have the mammoth Manny, who is introduced to us by having him walk towards the ice-up parts of the world, ignoring everyone around him until this guy gets in his face, then mentions his family, and then the hostility drops and he gets off the road. Then later on, he meets the human woman and takes this thing with him, and at first walks away, then decides to help Sid get the kid back to his family. Odd things to know, but not much thought can be given as to why he acts this way until the scene with the cave drawings.
The sloths. You know, you never see any sloths in these things. Have you ever noticed? Oh, look, Manny, a mammoth.
Ooh, somebody pinch me.
Hey, this fat one looks just like you. Oh, and he's got a family. Oh, and he's happy. Look, he's playing with his kid. See, Manny, that's your problem. That's what mammoths are supposed to do.
Sid.
Find a she-myth, have little baby mammoths,
Sid.
and what?
Shut up.
Okay, so Sid is pretty on the nose here, but it can be a bit forgiven because it has been a while since we have been able to acknowledge his Manny's behavior, and this is sort of tossing it out there as to what's going on for the next part, which has no dialogue.
But...
A sheer lack of dialogue, but the point becomes very clear, and again, no dialogue, but you can definitely see just from his expression that this is what happened. It was a very traumatizing moment. It's why he was alone. That's why he was going towards the Ice Age. You can even say he was on his way to die. Link things back around to this traumatizing moment to their quest right now, getting this kid back to his family. This is why Show Don't Tell is important. It rewards the audience engaging with your story by simply paying attention to information shown through contextual clues lying around to pick up and fit together, but having the restraint not to do it for them. This can focus the audience's attention onto your story and make the setting seem like a real place with live people in it, and not just a script or page of words someone wrote. Exposition should always be used sparingly. Like in the beginning of both of these scenes, you had someone getting us going with a short and to the point dialogue. It doesn't remain long and leaves as soon as it's done. There is no long scene where the elderly woman or man just sits there with dramatic music playing as they tell their story, and that is how it should be. But what do you think? Did I miss something? Did you agree with my choices or have better examples of your own? Put them in the comments and hit that like button. Then consider hitting the subscribe button, then the real subscribe button for more content to come.